Welcome for this new video about the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra. Today, the verse 31. First, I read in Sanskrit. Om tayāpūryāśu mūrdhāntaṃ bhaṅktvā bhrūkṣepasetunā nirvikalpaṃ manaḥ kṛtvā sarvordhve sarvagodgamaḥ. So, this is the overall meaning of the verse. Having quickly filled Ashu Apurya, having quickly filled the whole body. This is not in the text, but this is to be added. Having filled the whole body, mūrdhāntaṃ, up to the head, tayāpūryāśu, with that vital energy, with that energy of vital breath, but which is not limited to breath. It's vital energy here. It's awareness, in fact, life, energy of life, life as energy. Life, energy, breath, awareness, all that is different aspects of the same entity. Bhaṅktvā, and having broken through, bhrūkṣepasetunā, through the bridge made by the eyebrows. The bridge made by the eyebrows. So what does that mean? Here I don't think one has to dwell very long on that bridge of the eyebrows. Making a bridge with the eyebrows is a mean to say in Sanskrit that one is frowning the eyebrows. And it's just a way of saying, in my opinion, given the context and all that one can gather from all the existing teachings, that one is holding the breath. So that first line means sitting comfortably in an asana, in a posture. One has to fill in quickly the body with air, breathing in, and then one hold the breath like this until there is a kind of pressure felt in the head, just like you hold your breath and you hold it tight. You feel some kind of pressure in the head, don't you? And then you release. And at the moment you release, you feel the energy is going through the head, above the head. And then nirvikalpaṃ manaḥ kṛtvā, making the mind undivided, with an attention which is whole, undivided, like a wave of awareness, of attention going up into the space above the head. Sarvordhve, when that prana shakti, that sensation of the energy going up and expanding above the head is going above the body, then sarvagodgamaḥ, then the awareness goes as well above the body into the space, expanding into space. Because the idea here, as often, is that the awareness, the attention, if you will, is riding on a feeling. Here it's a feeling of feeling one's body, holding, tightening, some pressure, and then exploding, expanding in space. Just like a surfer takes on a wave to go as far as possible. Here one rides on the waves of the breath energy feeling, subtle feeling inside, going up and exploding, expanding higher and higher into space, just like a wave into space. And this is similar to any recitation of mantra, to what was previously and will be next taught as mantra uchara, moving up the mantra. But with the mantra practice, the support of the practice is the sound vibration, whereas here it is the breath vibration. But otherwise, the movement, the gesture, the inner gesture is the same. It is a movement of riding on a wave, on a vibration going up, and surfing it, as it were, at large, as far as possible, like a long, long Om. Om. So here the difference is also that one feels the body like charging a gun, and one tightens the energy, and then there is a release. There is a release. And the equivalent, that release of the feeling of tight energy, of tight, tensed sensation of the holding of the breath, is that release is similar to the spelling out of the mantra. Okay, when I say Om, here it's more or less the same. I'm just feeling the breath, which is first going down, but feeling the body like a water pot from the bottom up. And when it reaches the top, I hold, closed hold, with that feeling of overfilling the head, and then there is that release, and it continues going up. So there are several stages, but the general movement is the same, and the general feel is the same. It's going from tension to openness, from something relatively gross to the most subtle, to space, like an offering of energy, of space. And the movement of attention, because all those practices are about attention, the movement of attention is riding onto something which is easily found in experience, like the breath, like a feeling of the body, and then accompanying that feeling to more and more subtle levels, like a wave in the ocean, like a vibration, a sound in the air. So I sit comfortably, feel in, holding, and then releasing, and accompanying that release upwards. This is also similar to the practice described before of listening to the natural breath. Remember, listening especially to the end of the out-breath. And here is the same. The out-breath usually is felt physically, going through the nostrils like 20 centimeters outside. So it is curved. It is called kutilakritihi, having the shape of a curve, of a turn. And this is then called the sleeping kundalini. But when one listens to the space, the silence at the end of out-breath, before the in-breath starts again, there is that moment of silent awareness. Then one will feel that the in-breath and out-breath start to diminish. The spaces, the moments of pure balance start to expand. She is becoming again the Paradevi, the Dirghatma. She becomes longer and longer, and the movements of in and out breath become thinner and thinner, more and more faint, so that at the end they completely eaten, as it were, by that silent awareness, that space of perfect balance. And what remains is just a subtle vibration, a very subtle vibration, like breath has become a very subtle vibration. And then, of course, the mind is no more mind. It is full awareness or fuller awareness. And the feeling of the out-breath at that moment is no more like a curve, but it's becoming more and more vertical, like it's going no more through the nose, but it feels like it's going vertically into the space above the head, just like here. So you must learn to recognize through those apparently very different practices the common principles, so that you're not lost and you can become somehow master, at least, of those teachings. So you see, those teachings are those experiences, these practices are very simple. They are the practices that you can find in Hatha Yoga, in the different sorts of yoga, meditation, pranayama, asana, kundalini, chakras, and in the different types of practices that you will find in non-duality, in Vedanta, etc. But they are going right to the heart of the matter without any complication. They are focusing on the most efficient part of each practice. This is Updation. And here in the commentary, Shivopadhyaya says that one has to learn that going up, that exploding of energy, Guru Padesha Yuktya, through a practice taught intimately, directly, secretly, taught by a guru, by a master. But himself, he explains then that practice. He says that it's like releasing water from a dam into a rice field, because the subtle body, the yogic body, is often seen through comparison with agriculture, with garden, if you will. Just like in a garden, there are water tanks and channels. In the subtle body, there are water energy tanks called adhara, and there are water channels called nadi. And one can close and open those channels through bandha. And those bandha actually are mentioned in Kshemarajya's commentary on his Pratyabhijñā Hridayam, Sutra 18, when he describes the means to open consciousness. And he says that there does exist much more efficient means to open consciousness, to open up consciousness, than those practices of Hatha Yoga. No need of bandha. But here is a kind of small bandha, because that holding is a kind of bandha. Bandha means literally closing. And the image here is that of feeling the body like a pot. The body in yoga is often called a pot, ghatavat, like a pot. And the full holding is called, or any holding for that matter, is called kumbhaka, making the body, making the trunk like a pot filled with water, but here filled with air from bottom up, and then it's exploding. So it's resembles some kind of alchemical operation, some kind of agriculture, some kind of manipulation of jars and pots, because that was the world in which those yogis and yoginis used to live. So they were using the things they were seeing around them to describe what they were feeling. And while doing so, the energy is going up, upper and upper into space, an offering of the body, which is contracted energy, into space, which is open energy. Just the same awareness, but closed, contracted, and expanded. This is the general movement of awakening. When we speak of self-awakening, it means self-expanding, self-opening, more and more spacious. And the commentary of Ananda, the second, because there are two commentaries on the Vijnana Bhairava, the second commentary, the commentary by Ananda is saying more or less the same thing. But he does not stress so much the release of the breath energy. He says rather that one should stop, should block the breath energy, and that way one will block the mind. So that this practice would just be a kind of chittavritti nirodha, but just with the help of breath. You see? But he uses the same expressions as Shivopadhyaya, or rather, Shivopadhyaya used the same as Ananda, as he is basically expanding on Ananda. Anyway, here we do not get much more help or light from the commentaries. But anyway, I think the practice is quite clear. I feel in breath. Holding full, closed. And releasing with that subtle feeling of a wave of heat going through the face and expanding into space. You can feel that sort of feeling of a wave of heat even more strongly if you have done some kind of hyperventilation before, and maybe something like the Wim Hof type of breathing. You can look for it on the YouTube if you want. Or if when you hold with the method of breath at the level of the stomach, you can put some pressure on the vagus nerve, and this is then much more powerful. This is also might be a possibility that this verse is alluding to that, but it's quite dangerous to try it by yourself, so be very cautious, and I don't advise it. Anyway, that is enough for this practice of today, which was the verse 31 of Vijnana Bhairava, a practice of exploding awareness through holding the breath. So let me thank you for your kind attention, and have a good day, and see you next.